Thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest in my work and the work that Elsha and I do together and the Travis technique. It's just thrilling to have so many people eager to hear whatever it is we're going to talk about. It's fantastic. I want to tell you that this webinar that a lot of you know, but some of you don't know, is actually a part of a series of webinars that we're doing. A series of webinars all about the Travis technique. The last one we finished just a few weeks ago, that some of you were there, a lot of you were there, was all on the power of staging. It was called The Art and Alchemy of Staging. That is complete, that's been done, and the recordings will be available soon. For those of you who didn't see it and want to see it, just let me know. I can make those available to you. So this one is part of a series. My sort of lifetime goal at the moment is to record as much of what I know, what I've learned, what I've discovered, what I teach, what I've created, to make recordings of it. I would much rather do it this way rather than just me talking at my camera. My camera is not that friendly. You look a lot more friendly than my camera. So I create these webinars to record all of this so that it's available to you. So now this webinar here is specifically about the interrogation process, and it's called Raiders of the Lost Art. Now, the beautiful and brilliant Elsha is the one who came up with that title. A lot of you know Elsha, my wife, who's sitting right next to me here. She came up with that, and that title is interesting. It's fascinating because it's very, very accurate. This webinar is called Raiders of the Lost Art of Interrogation. The art of interrogation. And it is sort of a lost art. I know it's used a lot in a lot of circumstances, but we're talking about using it in our artistic pursuits. And if you think about it, what is interrogation? Interrogation, in a way, in a very simple way, is trying to get information from an individual that you don't have, or you think you have, or you think you know what it might be. How do you get that information from this other person who may or may not be willing to share that with you? That's interrogation. And interrogation, the technique of interrogation, if you watch or read about interrogation, you watch really good interrogators, it's all based on questions. It's not based on statements. There are statements now and then in order to stimulate a response, yes, but it's mostly questions. So we're not going back as we look at working with actors, because this is what this is all about. This is all about the actor-director relationship in terms of stimulating the character. We're not going back to Strasberg and Meisner and Stella Adler, all those people that I've studied with, all those people that I know their techniques, and my techniques are based on their work. We're not even going back to Stanislavski. We're going further back, way back. We're going back to Socrates. Now, a lot of you know Socrates. A lot of you know what the Socratic method or technique is. And his technique of teaching was asking questions, stimulating a response from his students, stimulating a response, forcing them to think for themselves. Now, think about this for a moment, because this relates directly to working with actors. And I'm not talking about interrogating the actor at all, as you'll see in a moment, because we're going to look at a clip, a film clip, and you'll see. I'm not talking about interrogating the actor. In fact, I'm talking about not talking to the actor at all. I'm talking about interrogating the character that lives inside that actor. Interrogating the character, to let the character emerge, to let the character actually discover itself, to fulfill itself, to be itself, to let that person be himself. Now that's the process. It's interrogating in order to create. Interrogating as a form of creation. Another little side note about interrogation. It was many, many years ago when I suddenly stumbled upon or came up with this idea of what would happen if we stopped asking actors to pretend. If we stop asking actors to pretend to be this character and somehow create this emotion. In fact, if we as directors stop asking actors to give a performance. Now you have to understand the sort of crazy thinking that's going on with that. I want you as an actor to be this character, and I want you to be as authentic as possible. And they go, okay. So I want you to pretend to have these feelings. I want you to stir up these feelings from somewhere else. I'm asking you to do all these inauthentic things. In fact, I'm asking you as an actor to do things that most people never do. We don't go through life trying to stir up a certain emotion for a certain occasion. We don't. People don't go around asking us, could you give it that, could you be a little more vulnerable next time you do that? We don't do that. That's not natural. So I started to think, what would happen if? Is there a way to get around this problem? And what occurred to me, that if I, as a director, want an authentic character on the screen in front of me or on the stage in a play, if I want an authentic character, then maybe I should be talking to the character. Now, going along with this is my belief, my deep-seated belief. And now we're going back to the casting process for just a moment, but we don't have a lot of time for that today. But my belief that once I cast an actor, the character I want them to become already exists inside them. In fact, I tell the actors that. I said, you're playing this role, it already exists inside you. All you need to do is release it. In fact, all you need to do, really, is get out of the way. You, the actor, are in the way. Now there's an interesting concept. Think about it for a moment. The actor being in the way of their own artistic expression. But the actor is in the way. The actor is in the way the more the actor is thinking how to become the character. Because trying to become the character, trying to be something other than who you are or what you are, is not normal, it's not realistic, but more important, it is not what the character is doing. The character is not doing that. So if you, the actor, are on the screen or on the stage or in front of a camera and you're trying to become something other than yourself and you're focusing on how am I going to do this line, how am I going to do this moment, how am I going to give the director the emotion that he wants, you are so far away from what the character is thinking and doing that you'll never get there. What you'll get is a imagination, a pretense. You'll be pretending. You'll be pretending. No matter what you may be feeling, no matter the emotion that may be coming out of you, there's a consciousness of the actor trying to control it. What happens if we shut that down? Now, for all of you actors out there, don't worry. You'll be fine. In fact, you'll be better than fine. Because with this technique, with this process of interrogation, what happens is the character who is living inside you, and you will see this when I show it to you, the character who is living inside you will emerge on his own or on her own. That character will emerge, and that character will emerge authentically. So don't worry, actors. Also, in terms of the actors, one thing I've been shocked by, thrilled by with this technique is how happy the actors are for two reasons. One, they don't have to work very hard. They just have to follow me, follow the interrogation, follow the process, and let whatever comes out come out. Just let it out. Just let it be. Let the character emerge. They don't have to control it. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to work at it. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, and when we do our deep dive into the process, which we're going to do in October, which I'll tell you about a little bit later, when we do the deep dive into the interrogation process in October, we'll get into deeper into what is really going on inside the actor. But the actor doesn't have to work hard. And the other thing that's really important about the interrogation process, which you'll see in this film, is the actor allowing the character to just come out. The actor cannot make a mistake. There are no mistakes. And one important reason is there are no mistakes is because in this process of interrogation, you, the director, are never asking the actor to give you a specific performance. Never. So if you're not asking anything specific from the actor, how could the actor make a mistake? The only way the actor can make a mistake is not show up, but the actor's there. Whatever comes out is the character. And I've had many times actors saying, I have no idea why she did that. I have no idea why he responded that way. Talking about the character that came out of them. They are so often as surprised as the rest of us and thrilled because it's totally authentic. Okay, so what we're going to do today is this is sort of an introduction into the interrogation process. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works, and then we're going to watch a clip. We're going to watch a clip from a film. Now, this film is a documentary that Elsha and I made several years ago, and there are some people out there in this audience who worked on it, helped us with it. And this is a documentary on the interrogation process. And the wonderful thing about this film is you actually get to see the rehearsal process. You'll get to see the performances too, but you're going to see more of how the interrogation process works. And what I'll be doing today, I'll show you part of the clip. It's an 80-minute film. I'm not going to show you the whole film. I'm going to show you about 10, 11 minutes of it. That's all. We're going to look at a portion of it. And I'm going to break it down for you. And I'm going to explain to you how it works, why it's so effective. And you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it in the actors. You'll see what comes out of them. That's what a bulk of today is going to be about. And then at the end of the day, I will be telling you about what we're going to be doing in October. No problem. Okay, so hang on. We're going to look at this clip. I'm just going to run, it's like about 10 minutes long. I'm just going to run the entire clip without talking about it so you get a sense of what it is. One thing I want to say just before we start, this is part of the rehearsal process. At the beginning is what is called the dry read. I actually asked the two actors to read the scene, basically just read it dry, without a lot of emotion in it. I'm going to play that so you can hear the scene before you see what happens and how the interrogation process affects their performance. Okay, here we go. This is a scene, by the way, from American Beauty. Why, when we're trying to create something that resembles life as closely as possible, do we think we have to control it? Or do we think we know what it should look like?
What?
Whose car is that out front?
Mine. 1972 Pontiac GTO. The car I always wanted, and now I have it. I rule.
Where's the Camry?
I traded it in.
Shouldn't you have consulted me first?
Let me think. No, you never drove it. You look good. What have you done?
Where's Jane?
Jane's not home. We have the entire house to ourselves. Christ, Carolyn, when did you become so joyless?
Joyless? I am not joyless. There happens to be a lot about me you don't know, Mr. Smarty Man. There's plenty of joy in my life.
Whatever happened to that girl who used to fake seizures at frat parties when she got bored? And who used to run up to the roof of our first apartment building to flash the traffic helicopters? Have you forgotten about her? Because I haven't.
Lester, you're going to spill beer on the couch.
So what? It's just a couch.
This is a $4,000 sofa upholstered in Italian silk. This is not just a couch.
It's just a couch. This isn't life. This is just stuff. And it's become more important to you than living. Well, honey, that's just nuts. I'm only trying to help you.
So Lester, this is your wife?
Yeah.
This is your wife? You've been married, you love her?
I love her very much.
Very much?
Very much.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
How's the sex, Lester? Lester, how's the sex?
It's non-existent.
It's non-existent.
Yeah.
But you love her?
Of course.
And the marriage is going well?
And she appreciates you. Does she appreciate you, Lester?
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't appreciate. Do you appreciate her?
Yes.
Carolyn, get in here. You appreciate her? This is your husband?
Her.
Yep.
Yep. What do you mean, yep? Do you love him?
Yes.
Carolyn, you do love him? Are you sure? I mean, you've been married for 20 years or something like that. You have a child. Do you still love your husband?
I love this man.
You love this man. This is your husband.
Yep.
And you appreciate him. And you respect him. Do you respect him?
There are parts of him I respect.
Is there a problem? Carolyn, is there a problem?
Well, he just bought a new car without
He just
telling
bought a
me.
new car without. So what?
So what? He
So
should
what?
have consulted me.
Why?
Because
Do you consult him every time you buy something? Did you
No,
consult him
but-
when you bought that dress? Did
a
you?
car and a
Did-
dress are very different.
Oh, they are.
Yes, they are.
But this is his car. This is the
Yes,
car
but
he's.
this is for work.
This is for work.
Yes,
What?
I have to look good for work.
So you have to look good for work.
Yes,
So you're pissed off at him because he bought a car without consulting you.
and he's unemployed.
And he's unemployed. No, he has a job.
That
he
is
has
not a job.
he has a job.
That is not a job.
It's a real job.
That is not a job.
There are a lot of other people who work at Smiley's. They think it's a job.
Okay.
Have you told him how upset you are with him? Carolyn, have you told him how upset you are with him?
He's not stupid. I think
I
he
didn't
knows.
ask you if he's stupid. I asked you if you have talked to him. Do you ever talk to your husband?
Yeah, we tried talking the other night, and he threw something against the wall.
He threw something against the wall. So you don't talk to him. Have you told him how disappointed you are in him? With his quitting the job? Do you talk to your wife?
No.
You told me you love her.
I do love her.
You love her, but you don't talk to her. Lester, why don't you just talk to her?
Because she's not interested in anything I have to say.
So what kind of relationship is this?
I don't know what.
You love this woman and you don't talk to her.
She always just.
She what?
She puts me down. She
puts you
shoots
down.
down my ideas. She's.
Yeah, go ahead. She shoots down your idea. You have good ideas.
She.
You have really good ideas, don't you?
She used to know what made me happy, and she used to care about
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Now she doesn't even ask about how my day was, how I'm feeling at all. She doesn't care.
Do you want her? Do you want her to talk to you?
Yes.
But then maybe you should talk to her. What would you tell her if you could tell her anything and nothing bad would happen?
What would I tell her?
What would you talk to her about? What would you tell her?
I would ask her why she is what she is now, which is not the person that I married.
Oh, not the person you married. She's changed,
She's become completely different.
and that bothers you. That upsets you.
Yes, because also
How long has this been going on, Lester?
10 years?
10 years.
Probably.
And how long since you've talked to her about it? Have you ever mentioned it to her once? 10 years of silence? Is that what we're talking about?
I've maybe hinted at things, and then she always
What
avoids
would you
the
like to
conversation.
tell your husband? If you could tell him anything, what would you like to tell him?
He's not the man I married either.
I didn't ask you that. What would you like to tell him?
I'd tell him the ship has sailed.
The ship, does this mean it's over?
No, but it has sailed.
What ship has sailed?
The ship between us.
It's sailed?
It's not where it should be.
It's not where it should be. And it's all his fault?
It's not just one person's
You're doing
fault.
the best you are.
I do
You
work
are.
hard.
You're working hard. I know.
I do.
And you bought this house?
Yes.
You bought the car?
Yes.
You got the real estate business going?
Yes.
You've been working really hard.
Yes.
Has he been helping you?
No.
Have you said anything to him about that?
I tell him many times when we're
Yeah.
at functions to just man up and just help.
Just man up and help. At functions. How about
Yes.
at home?
He messes it up, so it's easier to just do it.
To do what?
Everything.
What would it feel like, Carolyn, if you could tell him exactly how you feel about him? How would that feel? Exactly. Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking
we
your
don't
head?
do that.
I didn't ask you that if you did that. I know you don't do that. How would it feel if you could tell him exactly how you feel about him?
I
Exactly.
don't know because I've never done it.
Imagine. What if I told you you could do it and nothing bad would happen? I'm going to give you that opportunity. Wouldn't you like to tell her exactly what you think of her? Wouldn't you like to tell her that you miss the woman she used to be?
Yes.
Wouldn't that feel good?
It'd feel good, but I'm a little afraid.
Afraid of what?
Just the way she would react.
What? Okay, yeah, but if I told you that nothing bad is going to happen, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Lester, to tell your wife, Carolyn, exactly what you think of her, exactly how you feel about her, exactly how disappointed you are, what you want from her, right now.
Okay.
Right now? You ready? Right now. You're going to tell Lester exactly what you think of him. This is 2 monologues going on at the same time. You ready? And go.
You've completely
left me alone,
changed. You are
Lester.
not the
I
person
don't know
that I
where
used
you
to
went,
marry.
but the ship
You
has
have something
sailed.
going on in
You
your
have
head that you were
zero
striving
ambition.
towards,
I
and you've
asked you to
forgotten
go
about
and
us, and
write
you've
something
forgotten
to
about
save your
Jane.
job so that I was
We
the
have
only one
a house with a
contributing.
white
And you
picket
wouldn't
fence
do
and a
it.
backyard,
And then what
and
you
you've
do,
got
you
your shiny
blackmailed
Mercedes,
your
and that's all you
boss.
fucking care
Who
about.
does that?
That's all you don't
And
care
then
about
you
me
started
anymore.
working out
You don't
your
even
secret
care
care
about
about
yourself.
yourself.
Lester, how's it going?
It
What?
felt good. It
Felt
very
good? You're
Yeah,
saying
it
what
felt
you
good.
want to say? Are you saying what
Yes.
you want to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, okay. And she's listening to you.
I don't know if she's listening.
She's not listening to you.
I don't know.
Well, what's
It's
the
hard to
point,
tell.
Lester? What's the point of saying all this great stuff to her if she doesn't hear it? Wouldn't it be great if she heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going, Carolyn? What?
It's not going very well.
Why not?
Because it's pointless.
What do you mean it's pointless?
He doesn't
Are you
hear me.
saying what you want to
I
say?
am saying it.
And he doesn't hear you?
No.
So what are you going to do about that? Can you get him to stop and listen for once? Can you get him to stop and listen, Carolyn?
I don't know if I can.
Wouldn't it be great if he just heard it? He doesn't have to agree with it. He doesn't have to accept anything. Wouldn't it be great if he just heard what you have to say?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go again. When I say start, same thing. This time, your objective, get the other one to stop talking and listen. Get Lester to stop talking and listen to you. Get her to stop talking and listen to you.
Okay.
Okay? No hitting, no violence. You ready? And go.
I
You
know
need to
think
listen
that
to
I'm
me right now.
innocent,
Just
and I know
listen
you
for
think that
once
I'm
in your
fake,
life.
but the
Please listen
fact
what I have to
is,
say.
I have contempt, utter contempt for who you have become, and my respect
Who I've
is
become?
gone.
You're
It's
the one who's
actually
become a
gone.
different person.
When I see
I've
you
lost a
fall
little
into
piece
bed
of
at
me
night,
inside
parts of
because
me
it's
die,
dead and you killed
and
it.
I don't want to be here anymore. If you would just release me.
I can't release you
can't
because I love you and
understand
we are
why
bound by marriage.
you would
We have a
just
daughter.
want this life, and you
I
don't
want a
even
life
care
with you.
about
I want
her.
our life
You
back
do
that we
not
used to
care
have.
about her or me.
Read the scene.
What?
Whose car is that out front?
It's mine. 1972 Pontiac GTO. The car I've always wanted, and now I have it. I rule.
Where's the Camry?
I traded it in.
Shouldn't you have consulted me first?
Let me think. No. You never drove it. You look good. What have you done?
Where's Jane?
Jane's not home. So we have the entire house to ourselves. Christ, Carolyn, when did you become so joyless?
Joyless? I am not joyless. There happens to be a lot about me you don't know, Mr. Smarty Man. I have plenty of joy in my life.
Whatever happened to the girl that used to fake seizures at frat parties when she'd get bored? And the girl who used to run up on the roof of our first apartment building to flash the traffic helicopters. Have you totally forgotten about her? Because I haven't.
Lester, you're gonna spill beer on the couch.
So what? It's just a couch.
This is a $4,000 sofa, upholstered in Italian silk. This is not just a couch.
This is just a couch. This isn't life, this is just stuff. And it's become more important to you than living. Well, honey, that's just nuts. I'm only trying to help you.
Carolyn, come here. What I need from you now. Go.
What I need from you
What
now
I need from you now
is to listen
just
to me
have-
and take a step back from
Wake
whatever
up.
this is. With
I
your
need you to wake
flowers
up and
your
be there
matching
with
shoes and
me.
everything.
and fight. Where did your
I want
ambition
to
go?
be with
That's
you.
what
This
I
is
need
why
from
I'm
you, is some
fighting.
ambition. I worked
There's a little
so
bit of me
hard.
that is trying to get
And you
back whatever
laugh
we used to
at
have and
it.
get back to who
You
I
laugh
really
in the
am.
face of
Instead
it.
of this masked shroud I walk around in.
One last statement. Carolyn?
I've already left you.
Lester?
I want you back.
What I showed you is what I call an interrogation arc. The interrogation arc goes from the end of a reading or a performance, and then a new interrogation starts, like it's starting right now. And the arc takes us all the way to the next reading. There are a lot of things that happen within that interrogation. You saw a lot of things happening. And there are other options when we get deeper into the process that you could use, that you could aim for. But one thing that's really important in this interrogation, and I want to zip forward for a second to a moment here that you'll remember.
You ready? And go.
You've completely
left me alone,
changed. You are
Lester.
not the
I don't
person
know
that I
where
used
you
to
went,
marry.
but the ship
You
has
have something
sailed.
going on in
You
your
have
head that you're
zero
striving
ambition.
towards,
I
and you've
asked you to
forgotten
go.
about it.
This is called simultaneous monologues. This is deeper. This is like 7 minutes into the interrogation. Only 7 minutes. And this is when the two of them are talking to each other about each other and expressing how they feel to each other.
So
Write
you've forgotten
something to
about
save your
Jane.
job so that I was
We
the
have
only
a
one
house with a
contributing.
white
And you
picket
wouldn't
fence
do
and a
it.
backyard,
And then what
and
you
you've
do,
got
you
your shiny
blackmailed
Mercedes,
your
and that's all you
boss.
fucking care
Who
about.
does that?
That's all you don't
And
care
then now
about
that
me
you started
anymore.
working out,
You don't
you
even
still
care
care.
about
What's really important about the simultaneous monologues, two things. One, when I start an interrogation, I have in my mind whether or not I want to go to simultaneous monologues. Usually I do, because of its power, because it's so powerful. There's something unique that happens. Up until the simultaneous monologues, they've read the scene, I've interrogated the two of them. They really have not communicated to each other at all. But once we hit those simultaneous monologues, they are now expressing themselves to each other. And what they're expressing is crucial. What they're expressing was designed by me, selected by me, not by them. Because prior to that, which we'll go through, I've been asking them, how do you feel about him? How do you feel about her? What do you want to say to him? What do you want to say to her? I've been digging into the material I want to find. I'm not telling them what to say, but I'm focusing it on one aspect of each character to the point that we're going to bring them into this collision moment of the simultaneous monologues. And when simultaneous monologues are happening, and when we look at the full film later, you'll hear it, the actors talk about what happens. It's really powerful because suddenly they are talking to each other and they are not expressing what is in the script at all. They are expressing total subtext, deep subtext, things that are never expressed, things these characters would never say to each other, but now they are saying them to each other. And this is a crucial part of the formation of the characters and the relationship. So going back to the beginning, this is what I'm aiming for. I have it in my mind what I want. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning of this, at the end of the dry read, right here. Okay. And you'll see how during the interrogation that you just watched, there are moments of moving toward the simultaneous monologue that's in my mind. In my mind. There are steps. There are actually 13 steps. I can't go through all the steps with you now. If you join us in October, I can. But there are 13 steps. I'm going to go through and show you what's happening.
This is your wife?
Yeah.
This is your wife? You've been married? You love her?
Now, at the beginning of the interrogation, these are really soft questions. Because is this your wife? Do you love her? And all I need at this moment is just to make sure that Rob, the actor, and Lester, his character, are in sync with the interrogation. They're going along with me. And he is immediately.
Very much.
Very much?
Very much.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
How's the sex, Lester?
Now that, how's the sex, is called a switch. Switches happen often. There's one goal of the interrogation, which is really important. I am going to help Rob here, Rob the actor, allow the Lester that lives inside him to emerge. And the way I do it is not by logical discussion or the two of us sitting down and as director and actor and discussing Lester. We could do that. We could. We haven't done it. In fact, in this whole film, we did no discussion. There's no traditional directing in this entire film. But we could have done that. That would have been fine. But now, for Lester to emerge, I have to watch it. Switching is important. Switching is important because my goal actually is to get him off balance, to get the Lester that's within him off balance. My goal is to create chaos. The character is created out of chaos, not out of logical thinking and planning and designing, not at all. Out of the chaos of trying to sort through his life, sort through who he is, or sort through the moment that he's in now and trying to make sense of it or trying to get himself stabilized. So my job is to destabilize him, and switches will do it. And you'll notice there are a lot of switches in this.
Lester, how's the sex?
It's non-existent.
It's non-existent.
Yeah.
But you love her.
Of course.
And the marriage is going well. And she appreciates you. Does she appreciate you?
Now, one thing is important during this. Watch him. You can listen to me. That's fine. Watch him. Do you see how he's fishing, stumbling, trying to find the answers? That's Lester. That's not Rob, the actor. That's Lester. And what I'm watching as I'm interrogating him, I'm watching these responses. I'm watching every aspect of this actor, actually both actors, as I'm doing this, because their behavior, sometimes just their behavior, like the stumbling, tells me how effective the interrogation is being and shows me the Lester that is living inside him.
Lester.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't appreciate. Do you appreciate her?
Yes.
Carolyn, get it.
Now that's bizarre. It's a wonderful moment. Do you appreciate her? And he asks a question with a yes. He goes, yes. That's Lester. I think I do. I don't know if I do. I don't know what the answer is here. That's Lester. That's not Rob trying to think, what would Lester say?
Here. You appreciate her? This is your husband?
her.
See, even then, I asked him again, and he's still stumbling with it. That stumbling is Lester. It's wonderful. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. What do you mean?
Now, this is a switch. I'm just going to go back just a little bit here and show you this switch again.
Yes.
Carolyn, get in here. You appreciate her?
Now, there's my question.
This is your husband?
And I switch to her. That's another switch. It's actually leaving the actor, the character, with a question that he has not had a chance to answer. And I'm not waiting for the answer. I'm moving on to something else. One thing I have to tell you, which I find really fascinating with this whole process, it's amazing. Here I'm interrogating two actors, and if I switch from Rob, the actor, to Corinne, the actress, or I'm going from Lester to Carolyn, but when I leave Lester and go to Carolyn, Lester will go silent. He will go silent. You'll see this happen again and again during this clip, that when I leave one and go to the other one goes silent, which is perfect. They could keep talking if they want to. There are no rules. First of all, there are no rules of this. I've not given the actors any rules. The only question might ask the actors is, can I talk to the character? That's it. But when I leave one character and go to the other, I'm aware that the last thing I said to that first character is still ringing in his or her ears. Right now, he's still holding on to this. Do I appreciate her? Do I appreciate her? Even while I'm interrogating her. Okay.
What do you mean, yep? Do you love him?
Yes.
Carolyn, you do love him? Are you sure? I mean, you've been married for 20 years or something like that. You have a child. Do you still love your husband?
No. That married 20 years and have a child, I'll do this many times. This is something I know, and of course they know. I am just inserting it in as a piece of information, as a fact. This is a fact from the script, because I want to reinforce, make sure that that's forefront in their mind.
I love this man.
You love this man. This is your husband.
Yep.
And you appreciate him.
And I'm even repeating, there's a lot of repetition. I will repeat what they're saying to try to reinforce it.
Respect him. Do you respect him?
There are parts of him I respect.
Is there a problem? Carolyn, is there a problem?
Well, he just bought a new car without
He just
telling
bought a new car without, so what?
So,
Now, this is me searching for the conflict. I'm not trying to tell them what the conflict is. This is why it's not traditional directing. I, as a director, am not telling them what I think. I'm not telling them what I think of Carolyn or Lester. I'm not talking about their relationship, what I think. I want to hear it, not from the actors, but from the characters. And now I'm searching for the conflict with that simultaneous monologue in mind.
so what? He
So
should
what?
have consulted me.
Why?
Because
Do you consult him every time you buy something? Did you
No,
consult him
but-
when you bought that dress? Did you?
A car and a
Did-
dress are very different.
Oh, they are.
Yes, they are.
But this is his car. This is the
Yes,
car
but
he's.
this is for work.
This is for work.
Yes,
What?
I have to look good
Now,
for work.
this happens a lot when you're interrogating two characters who have some sort of a relationship, whatever the relationship would be. I can simultaneously be interrogating one character while defending the other. I want to mention something really important here. In this process, I am interrogating these characters. I am not a character. I am not their director. In fact, Carolyn and Lester don't have a director. I am not their therapist. So a lot of people say, well, then who are you and why are they talking to you? I am the voices in their head. That's who I am. Now, we all have voices in our head. We all have voices that we talk to. We all have in our head those voices that criticize us when we make a mistake. We all have voices that praise us when we think we've done something wonderful. You know what I mean, the voices in your head. That is what interrogation is. Interrogation, even though it's questioning, it is presenting a point of view or an opinion from the voices in their head. So when I'm saying this to Carolyn, as I'm actually taking the role of a nemesis, her nemesis who is criticizing her. I'm criticizing, and simultaneously I'm being the ally to Lester. I am praising him. I am defending him. Okay. We'll keep going here.
So you have to look good for work.
Yes,
So you're pissed off at him because he bought a car without consulting you.
and he's unemployed.
And he's unemployed. No, he has a job.
That
He
is
has
not a
a-
job.
he has a job.
That is not a job.
See, there's the defending of him and the criticizing of her simultaneously. Even though Rob is just standing there listening, he is very much, as Lester, engaged in this process. And he probably feels at least supported for at least a moment.
It's a real job.
That is not a job.
There are a lot of other people who work at Smiley's. They think it's a job.
Okay.
Have you told him how upset you are with him? Carolyn, have you told him?
Okay, this is the beginning of the setup for the simultaneous monologues. The reason it's the beginning is I'm asking her a very simple question. I will ask him the same question a little later, you'll see. Have you told him? Have you told her? And I'm actually looking for making sure I'm in that territory or that subject matter where they'll say no. Or say, I can't do that. Or that's ridiculous. I would never do that. I want something that's truthful and honest that they would like to say to each other, that they're saying to me. I want it to be difficult for them to say to the other person. Otherwise, the simultaneous monologue doesn't have as much power.
How upset you are with him?
He's not stupid. I think
I
he
didn't
knows.
ask you if he's stupid. I asked you if you have talked to him. Do you ever talk to your husband?
Yeah, we tried talking the other night and he threw something against the wall.
He threw something against the wall. So you don't talk to him. Have you told him how disappointed you are in him? With his quitting the job? Do you talk to
Okay, there's the question again. I'm just going to go back. As it says, set up, continue. First of all, look at her reaction right here. This is the behavior of the character that while you're doing this, you have to keep in mind, you're watching the character. You're not watching an actor act. You're watching a character.
The wall.
He threw something against the wall. So you don't talk to him. Have you told him how?
Just that little moment there. I'm watching that. Because that was an accusation. You don't talk to him. That was her nemesis, her critic, her inner critic.
Disappointed you are in him? With his quitting the job? Do you talk to you?
And there's another switch. And I abandoned her. Have you told him how disappointed you are in him, of his quitting the job? And then I leave her. Now I leave her, and you can see she goes silent. She doesn't get a chance to answer. So that question stays within her, which makes it even more powerful.
No.
You told me you love her.
I do love her.
You love her, but you don't talk to her. Lester, why don't you just talk to her?
Because she's not interested in anything I have to say.
So what kind of relationship is this?
I don't know.
You love this woman and you don't talk to her.
She always just...
She what?
She puts me down. She
puts you
shoots down
down.
my ideas.
Now, at this point, I'm the nemesis. I'm pushing him hard. I can see he's struggling. But it's another kind of switch that can happen, is you can switch from the nemesis to the ally and suddenly be supporting. There's an attempt here. There's another one later which works better, but you'll see it.
She's...
Yeah, go ahead. She shoots down your idea. You have good ideas.
That's the beginning of the ally. You have good ideas. Suddenly my voice, this voice that he's hearing, which has been so critical up to this moment and pushing him, suddenly is supporting him. That's another switch. That's another destabilizing moment. And what will happen is when the ally comes along, he will start to relax because he doesn't feel under attack. And when he starts to relax, he's actually more vulnerable to the interrogation.
Really good ideas, don't you?
She used to know what made me happy and she used to care about it.
Okay.
Now she doesn't even ask about how my day was, how I'm feeling at all. She doesn't care.
Do you want her? Do you want her to talk to you?
Yes.
See, I'm still being the ally.
But then maybe you should talk to her. What would you tell her if you could tell her anything and nothing bad would happen?
What would I tell her?
What would you talk to her about? What would you tell her?
Now watch this.
I would ask her why she is what she is now, which is not the person that I married.
Now, that's good. So I hear, okay, now he's being very clear. But this is an interesting moment. I'm just going to go back a little bit so you can see as we run into it, see what happens.
I would ask her why she is what she is now, which is not the person that I married.
Oh, not the person you married.
Because he made an accusation about her, and my consciousness as I'm interrogating, I want to make sure they're both involved. I don't want anybody dropping out or just sort of observing. And in this moment, when he says, not the person I married.
That I married.
Oh, not the person you married.
I look to her and look at that. And she even nods her head. That's what I'm looking for. She's still engaged. My interrogation of him is impacting her deeply. Now, a lot of people have asked me, why don't you just interrogate them individually and then put them together? And I say, well, then it'll only work about 50%, because a lot of what's happening, a lot of what they're hearing, even though they're hearing things, she, as Carolyn, is hearing things that Carolyn has never really heard. But she needs to hear them, because I believe these are things that Carolyn feels. These are things that Carolyn knows, or these are things that Carolyn fears. And hearing what the other person really thinks about your character, your character, is powerful. How do you deal with that? And what's really interesting, another aspect of this process that's really interesting is, and we're getting close to the simultaneous monologues, where they're going to talk to each other, is now they are hearing everything from each other, and they're fine. They're saying it, although they're just saying it to me. They're not saying it to each other, and they're fine. They're right there. But when it suddenly shifts and they're talking it to each other, all of a sudden the stakes are higher. The fears are greater. The resistance is huge. Even though they could say one thing, he could say to me, she's not the woman I married, and she's nodding like, you're right, I'm not. That's pretty much what she's saying. But they haven't said it to each other. and saying it to each other is going to be tough, ironically. But this is the beauty of actors. This is the power of actors, that they can allow themselves to hear things that their character wouldn't know, and it still has impact with them, on them. Okay, here we go.
He's changed,
He's become completely different.
and that bothers you. That upsets you.
Yes, because also
How long has this been going on, Lester?
10
How-
years?
10 years?
Probably.
And how long since you've talked to her about it? Have you ever mentioned it to her once? 10 years of silence? Is that what we're talking about?
I've maybe mentioned, hinted at things.
Now, I'm using that 10 years of silence, that's great, 10 years of silence, as a wedge or leverage to get into those monologues. Saying, isn't it about time you talked to her? I'm doing that with both of them.
And then she always
What
avoids
would you
the
like to tell
conversation.
your husband?
There's another switch. He was in the middle of an answer. Watch him when he gets abandoned.
Talking about?
I've maybe mentioned, hinted
Hinted?
at things, and then she always
What would
avoids
you
the
like to tell
conversation.
your husband? If you could tell him anything,
Is that suddenly you could see it was like the air was taken out of him, and now he's like, and because I'm not talking to him, he goes silent. But that is still hanging in him about the hinting, because I've hinted at it. Okay.
what would you like to tell him?
He's not the man I married either.
I didn't ask you that. What would you like to tell him?
Now this says set up again. I'm back. What would you like to tell him? It keeps coming up again and again.
I tell him the ship has sailed.
The ship, does this mean it's over?
No, but it has sailed.
What ship has sailed?
The ship between us.
It's sailed?
It's not where it should be.
It's not where it should be. And it's all his fault?
It's not just one person's
You're doing
fault.
the best you are.
I do
You
work
are. You're
hard.
working.
Okay, now I've switched it to supporting her. The thing is with Carolyn, the Carolyn I'm running into, which I'm sure you can see that is very different from the Lester. The Lester is more of a little puppy. He's a little scared. He's a little uncertain, not feeling very stable. Carolyn is very tough, and she's giving a lot of pushback. And when the character gives you a lot of pushback, you can keep interrogating forever, and they can destroy you. But if you switch to the ally and support them, they will suddenly become your best friend, and they will suddenly relax, and they will actually suddenly start revealing even more. And what you're waiting for is a moment of vulnerability when you can switch again back to the nemesis, back to the critic.
Hard, I know.
I do.
And you bought this house?
Yes.
You bought the car?
Yes.
You got the
So this is all the ally, and I'm just trying to pump her up.
real estate business going?
Yes.
You've been working really hard.
Yes.
Has he been helping you?
No.
Have you said anything to him about that?
Part of the setup again, it's coming.
I tell him many times when we're
Yeah.
at functions to just man up and just help.
Just man up and help. At functions. How about at
Yes.
home?
He messes it up, so it's easier to just do it.
To do what?
Everything.
What would it feel like?
Now, big shift. Now that I was pushing her a little bit there, but now my tone shifts almost to a neutral tone. I'm just going to ask her a simple question. This is, again, part of the setup.
Carolyn, if you could tell him exactly how you feel about it, how would that feel?
Now that's where we're going. What would it feel like if you could tell him exactly? Now I know what she feels about him. I know what he feels about her. Now I have to get them to agree to tell each other, even though they've already heard it all. Fascinating.
Exactly. Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking
we
your
don't
head?
do that.
I didn't ask you that if you did that. I know you don't do that. How would it feel if you could tell him exactly how you feel about him?
I
Exactly.
don't know because I've never done it.
Imagine. What if
Now, this is me being the ally, trying to get her to do it, but trying to support her. I know you haven't done that. What would it feel like? Imagine what it would feel like. I'm trying to soften her resistance enough to get her to agree.
I told you you could do it and nothing bad would happen?
Now, this is the promise. This is all part of the setup. What would happen? How would you feel if you could do it? And I would tell you, promise you, nothing bad will happen. Now, it's an interesting promise, but it's true. I know what's going to happen. Pretty much what you see is what's going to happen, but nothing bad happens, nothing horrible. Nobody really gets physically hurt. They may get emotionally stressed or challenged, but nothing really bad is going to happen. So that's my ally to both of them, saying, I'm here to support you. Trust me, trust me. Even though I'm not a person, I'm just the voices in their head.
I'm going to give you that opportunity. Wouldn't you like to tell?
No, I got a little nod from her, or a little shake of the head. I'm accepting that as okay. And I abandon her, so she can't fight back anymore.
Her exactly what you think of her? Wouldn't you like to tell her that you miss the woman she used to?
Now, this is another technique. I'm asking if he'd like to tell her, and I will repeat a lot of what he said, just to say, these are the things you could say. These are the things you could say.
Yes.
Wouldn't that feel good?
It'd feel good, but I'm a little afraid.
Afraid of what?
Just the way she would react.
What? Okay, yeah, but if I told you that nothing bad is going to happen, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Lester, to tell your wife, Carolyn, exactly what you think of her, exactly how you feel about her, exactly how disappointed you are, what you want from her, right now.
Okay.
Right now? You ready? Right now, you're going to tell Lester exactly what you think of him. This is 2 monologues going on at the same time. You ready? And go.
You've
You
completely
left me alone,
changed. You are
Lester.
not the
I don't
person
know
that I
where
used
you
to
went,
marry.
but the ship
You
has
have something
sailed.
going on in
You
your
have
head that you were
zero
striving
ambition.
towards,
I
and you've
asked you to
forgotten
go
about
and
us, and
write
you've
something
forgotten
to
about
save your
Jane.
job so that I was
We
the
have
only one
a house with a
contributing.
white
And you
picket
wouldn't
fence
do
and a
it.
backyard,
And then what
and
you
you've
do,
got
you
your shiny
blackmail
Mercedes,
your
and that's all you
boss.
fucking care
Who
about.
does that?
That's all you don't
And
care
then
about
you
me
started
anymore.
looking out
You don't
your
even
Okay,
care
okay.
about yourself.
Okay.
Lester, how's it going?
It
What?
felt good. It
Felt
very
good? You're
Yeah,
saying
felt
what you
good.
want to say?
Now, this is really important. The monologues start. I will let the monologues go on for a while, sometimes a little longer than that, but sometimes that's all. Just to get a sense of how they're doing. Just to get I'm listening to both of them, to get a sense, are they saying what they thought they were going to say, they wanted to say. Sometimes I listen to the actors, they're nowhere near what they wanted to say. And sometimes they're really close, they're right on. These two are pretty close, they're pretty much right on. But that's not the issue at the moment. That's not why I'm interrupting. You'll see when you do the simultaneous monologues, when the first time they do it, regardless of what they're talking about, regardless of what the relationship or the issue is, the first time they do it, they're getting used to the idea of improvising a monologue about how they feel about that other person, while that other person is improvising a monologue back to them. So they are hearing what the other person is saying, and they're trying to stay on track with what they're saying. It's tough. It's really tough. But actors can do this. Really good actors do it really, really well. It's really, really powerful. But in that first part, they are focused heavily on saying what they want to say. And now I want to up the stakes a little bit.
It
What?
felt good. It
Felt
very
good? You're
Yeah,
saying
felt
what you
good.
want to say? Are you saying what
Yes.
you want to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, okay. And she's listening to you.
So I'm just repeating everything. I'm supporting him, but here's the big question. And she's listening to them. Now, the crazy thing about this, and some of you are probably thinking is saying, Mark, you set up this crazy dual monologues thing, and nobody can really listen to the other person, and that's kind of true. And then I'm asking him, is she listening to you? And feigning surprise that she's not. But it's an important part of the process. Really, really important.
I don't know if she's listening.
She's not listening to you.
I don't know.
Well, what's
It's
the
not
point, Lester? What's the point of saying all this great stuff to her if she doesn't hear it? Wouldn't it be great if she heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going, Carolyn?
It's another switch.
It's not going very well
Why not?
because it's pointless. He
What do you mean
doesn't
it's
hear me.
pointless?
He doesn't
Are you
hear me.
saying what?
Now that's Carolyn actually trying to get out of this exercise. Carolyn saying, I don't want to do this anymore. It's pointless. I've got to keep her in.
You want to
I
say?
am saying
And
it.
he doesn't hear you?
No.
So what are you going to do about that? Can you get him to stop and listen for once? Can you get him to stop and listen, Carolyn?
I don't know if I can.
Wouldn't it be great if he just heard it? He doesn't have to agree with it.
Now this is important. This is important. The bargaining I'm doing with her. Wouldn't it be great if you could do it? Wouldn't it be great? He doesn't have to agree to it. If he could just hear you. I'm trying to soften her resistance so that she'll go ahead with it.
He doesn't have to accept anything. Wouldn't it be great if he just heard what you have to say?
And there's the nod. That's all I need. She goes, yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay, we're going to go again. When I say start. Same thing. This time, your objective, get the other one to stop talking and listen. Get Lester to stop talking and listen to you.
Now, the ironic thing for all of you directors and actors out there, that little moment you just saw, when I say, two monologues, get him to stop. Your objective, for a moment there, for a brief moment, I'm talking to the actors. That's actor talk. What's your objective? Get him to do this, get him to do that. But I'm actually saying it to the characters. So we're dipping a little bit into that, but it's really crucial that they know their job is to get the other one to stop talking and listen. Now, by doing that, suddenly their focus is not on creating the monologue of how they feel and saying it. Their focus is now connecting with the other person. And that's what I want. I want the struggle, the strain to try to connect. And now I'm going to watch to see if either of them does, even for a moment, or disrupts the other one, even for a moment.
Get her to stop talking and listen to you.
Okay.
Okay? No hitting, no violence. You ready? And go.
Also, that no hitting, no violence is important. It's important to me. But it does two things. One is it assures each other that they're not going to get violent. The other one is it's saying you will probably feel like you want to get violent. I'm encouraging that. I'm encouraging that level of anger, resentment, whatever is going on, that they may want to get physical in some way.
And go.
You need to listen to me right now. Just listen. For
For
once in your life, please listen to what I have to say.
I have contempt, utter contempt for who you have become. And my respect
Who I've
is
become?
gone.
You're
It's
the one who's
actual-
become.
Okay, she got to him. Listen. She got him to listen. This is important. It doesn't mean that Lester is not doing a good job, and it has no reflection on Rob, the actor, but it has a huge reflection on the relationship between Lester and Carolyn. This is that relationship. She can cut through his stuff and get to him faster and more skillfully than he can cut through her stuff and get to her.
Different person. I've lost a little piece of me inside because it's dead and you killed it.
I don't want to be here anymore. If you would just release me.
I can't release you
can't
because I love you and we were
Why?
bound by marriage.
You
We have a
just
daughter.
want this life and you
I
don't
want a
even
life
care
with you.
about
I want
her.
our life
You
back
do
that we
not
used to
care
have.
for me.
Read the scene.
Okay, read the scene. Now they know this is coming. They have the scene in their hands. But this is we're now approaching the end of the arc that I told you about. We've gone through the simultaneous monologues and we're going back into the scene. Now there's a reason for going back into the scene. Or several reasons, really. I'm not really looking for how brilliantly the scene comes out, what happens in that sense. In other words, there's nothing specific that I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is how effective have we been in creating these two characters in the scene. As the scene goes on, the scene will show you aspects of the character that this whole interrogation process and the monologues won't show you because it's not allowed. The scene, remember this, in the scene, they are restrained. They are restricted. They're restricted at the moment by the lines of dialogue. A scene has boundaries. It has reins that hold them back. They have to say these lines. And when you get later in the film, which you'll see, after we have the scene staged, the staging also becomes a restriction. It's a confinement. Yet, the important thing about the interrogation is what we're doing is we're building up that emotional relationship, that emotional desire. Right now, their desire to keep saying what they have been saying to each other continues. They want to say more. They could go on a lot longer. But what I want to do is take that impulse, that desire, that energy in those two characters and throw it into the scene where they will be restricted now by the dialogue and see how it affects the dialogue. Because, quite honestly, little side note, this scene or any scene in any movie is not the scene. This scene, as you heard in the dry read, is not the scene. What you heard is what they happen to end up saying. That's it. The scene is really what's going on underneath the dialogue. the subtext, what's behind it, what the feelings are, what the history is. That's what's driving the scene. These two people come together after 20 years of marriage and a lot of other stuff, and there's a sort of a catalyst here, which is the car that he bought, and all of these emotions that want to be expressed that they have not expressed for years, suddenly they try to express them in this scene, but they only say these words. So it's not trying to get your actors to say lines in a certain way. It's not asking them, could you say this with a little more sympathy or empathy? It's not how they say the lines that's important. It's really not. It's what's behind it, what we can feel behind it. Behind every line, we can feel something else is happening. That's what the audience wants. That's why we come to the theater. That's why we come to the cinema, to have that experience, the inner life of characters struggling against whatever the obstacles are, struggling to become themselves, to express themselves, to be something, to achieve something. That's what we want. And if you don't have that, all you have is very skilled people maybe saying a lot of lines, which is not interesting. Okay, so we go in. Now we'll just let the whole scene run and just watch. Watch, I mean, you remember the dry read? That was a dry read. Watch to see what, or be aware of yourself, what you're feeling is going on under the lines.
What?
Whose car is that out front?
It's mine. 1972 Pontiac GTO. The car I've always wanted, and now I have it. I rule.
Where's the Camry?
I traded it in.
Shouldn't you have consulted me first?
Let me think. No. You never drove it. You look good. What have you done?
Where's Jane?
Okay, I'm going to stop for a moment. What Corinne knows and what Carolyn knows is that before this scene, just before this scene, the last place she was at the firing range shooting the gun that she bought. And she was there for hours, having a wonderful time. Prior to that, she was with a real estate king in a motel room. She knows that. She knows why she looks good. She knows very clearly. We didn't bring it up in the interrogation. I could have. And later in the film, you'll see it's brought up again. It is brought up. But this, so knowing that, and you watch her reaction to, you look good, what have you done?
You look good. What have you done?
Right there. Watch this.
Where's Jane?
Jane's not home. So we have the entire house to ourselves. Christ, Carolyn, when did you become so joyless?
Joyless? I am not joyless. There happens to be a lot about me you don't know, Mr. Smarty Man. I have plenty of joy in my life.
Whatever happened to the girl that used to fake seizures at frat parties when she'd get bored? And the girl who used to run up on the roof of our first apartment building to flash the traffic helicopters. Have you totally forgotten about her? Because I haven't.
Lester, you're gonna spill beer on the couch.
So what? It's just a couch.
This is a $4,000 sofa, upholstered in Italian silk. This is not just a couch.
This is just a couch. This isn't life, this is just stuff. And it's become more important to you than living. Well, honey, that's just nuts. I'm only trying to help you.
Carolyn, come here.
Okay, this is called the check-in. This is a very important moment. You realize everything we've been through, that they've been going through for about the past 10 minutes, or even less than 10 minutes. So it's a very short period of time that we've covered all of this material, and they've gone through all of these emotions and feelings for them, and expression things and hearing things, and now we've done the scene. Now the scene, because as I said before, is restricted. a lot of them, things get held back. They have to get held back because they're in a box. They can't express everything. What's really important now, after you do the scene, if after the scene you say, oh, okay, thank you very much, they will be left hanging because there's still a lot to be expressed. So this first question, I always do this pretty much the same way. The first question, as I bring them back, is for them as simultaneous monologues again, to express what I need from you now. Now that's a big shift. It's not how I feel about you, what I want from you, what I think of you. It's not that. We've done that. Now it's what I need and what I need from you. Now this always, it doesn't throw the actors or the characters off, but when it comes, they're usually not prepared for it, and it'll throw them a little bit, which is just fine. What I need from you now. Go.
What I need from you now.
What I need from you now
is
is...
And if you watch them, I'm going to stop here, but watch them now. Watch the tone and the feeling. You're going to see two very different people, because you're going to see people who are now, for the first time in this whole process, being way more introspective. What do I need? What do I need from my wife? What do I need from my husband? Very vulnerable.
Listen to
Just
me
have-
and take a step back from
Wake
whatever
up.
this is. With
I
your
need you to wake
flowers
up
and your
and be there
matching shoes
with
and
me.
everything.
And fight.
I-
Where did your
I want
ambition
to
go?
be with
That's
you.
what
This
I
is
need
why
from
I'm
you. Is some
fighting.
ambition. I worked
There's a little
so
bit of me
hard.
that is trying to get
And you
back whatever
laugh
we used to
at
have and
it.
get back to who
You
I
laugh
really
in the
am.
face of
Instead of
it.
this masked shroud I walk around in.
One last statement. Carolyn?
I've already left you.
Lester?
I want you back.
Okay. We are at the end. That is the end of the clip. And we're all back. And hopefully, you have questions, put them in the chat. Please put them in the chat. Hopefully this is making some sense to you. Getting back to the check-in. The check-in is very important because I want to know when I stop, when we get to the end of the scene, I want to spend time with the actors/characters to see how they're doing, to see what they've achieved. I want to know what they've achieved. You can go further with that. When you watch the whole film, which I, by the way, will give you the link to, either in the chat or in our next email, you'll get a link to the entire film, which I highly encourage you to watch. You'll see that there are times I go even further into checking with them. The question is, what have we achieved before I release them from being the characters? Before I go, okay, we're done, thank you very much, and then we can just stop the whole process. And you realize, hopefully you all realize and can see that during this process, there has been absolutely no traditional directing. In my work and trying to figure out how to get more authentic characters, I realized using the interrogation process, in order to get the actors to stop acting, there were several things I was doing, and one important thing I had to do. What I was doing, as soon as I started interrogating, and you've seen this is what you've been watching, I am very, almost surgically shutting down the actor's mind. I'm shutting them down from thinking. Now they're still there, obviously, and they're still thinking, and they haven't gone anywhere, and there's no damage to their mind, but I have not addressed their mind, their thinking at all, because it's their thinking and their mind that can actually get in the way. I could ask Corinne, the actress, about what she thinks prior to the scene about Lester. Ask Corinne. And Corinne, being a terrific actress and very bright, very intelligent, will come up with some great stuff. Okay, but she'll be talking about Carolyn. You know, I think at this point Carolyn is thinking this way and feeling this way. Now I'm getting Corinne's point of view. Truthfully, I don't need it. I don't need it. And I'm not giving her my point of view. She doesn't need it, because then we're back into a director-actor relationship, and I'm going to be directing and making demands, and she's going to be acting, and she's going to be pretending and trying to achieve very important, achieve something that I said I want or that she thinks that I want. Another thing that's really important that you have to realize, you may not, is that prior to when we were shooting this film, I cast the two actors who I've worked with before, and I gave them this scene and gave them the full script, and they watched the, they may have watched the film, I don't know, I have no idea. But they had the script, they had the scene, and the dry read you saw was the first thing we did. There was no discussion of the characters. There was no discussion of the story. There was no discussion of the relationship. And if you do that, if you're bold enough to do that, what you will get from them through the character is everything they have thought about as actors. Everything Karina's thought about Carolyn will come through as Carolyn. She doesn't have to say, this is what I think, this is what I feel. She's really going, this is the Carolyn. This is the Carolyn that's in me. This is the Lester that's in me. So we don't have to have that discussion. Secondly, shutting down the actor's mind, not engaging the actor as an actor, the actor as a creative artist, the actor as a manipulator. I'm using the actor as a channeler. I'm using the actor to let the character come through. And the actor's influence on that character that's come through is enormous. Yet, and you'll see this in the film when they talk about it, it's unconscious. It's unconscious. They are not consciously applying something. They are not unconsciously making choices for the character. The character is making choices. They are unconsciously influencing those choices, but they're not aware of it. They are not making a conscious effort. And this is why it's very relaxing for them. This is why it's relatively easy for them. So if I'm shutting them down as actors, and I'm really asking them to not act at all, the other realization I came to is I had to stop directing. I can't direct in a traditional way, which I've been doing for 30, 40 years, 50 years, however long time. I can't go back and rely on that traditional directing at all. I have to approach them a different way. I have to stop being the director. It's what I call getting into the sandbox. It's my favorite term for this. Get into the sandbox, which means go into the sandbox. That's where the actors live. The actors live in a sandbox where everything is possible. They can create anything. If you get into the sandbox with them, that's what you're doing. You're improvising with them. You're talking with them. You're engaging with their character in a way that is way beyond you just talking to the actors. In fact, it's so far beyond that it's delightful for the actors, and they want always to be there. Always. That's their goal. I mean, an actor's goal is to become the character. And what you're doing is you recognize them as the character immediately and engaging with that character in a dialogue, in an improvisation. But you can't say to them, do this line this way. Do you know why? Because the character would say, what are you talking about? One key thing you all have to remember. It's very, very important. The character in your movie. I know a lot of you, and I've worked with a lot of you, and I know about the films that you've made, but the characters in your films are not in a film. Karina and Rob are two actors playing two characters, but Lester and Carolyn are not in a film. They're not. They're in their life. They're in a moment in their life, in this scene. This is a moment in their life. They're not in a film. They're not thinking about lines. They're not thinking about staging, blocking. They're not thinking about the light. They're not thinking about what emotion should I. They certainly shouldn't be, and they're not thinking about how am I going to say this line so it works. That's not what they're doing. They're in their life. That's it. And as you experience every single day in your life, and I experience every single day in my life, we go into a scene. We go into a moment. And what are we doing? Improvising. Life is an improvisation. Life is an improvisation. This is what we do every moment. And can you make that moment between those two characters in that scene that is written an improvisation? Now, they're not going to improvise the lines, But what they are, what is going to be totally improvised, is the emotion, is the tone, is the reaction. It's not planned. One of the worst things I feel that you can have in your movie while you're shooting is an actor with a plan. As soon as an actor has planned how to do a scene, you have an inauthentic scene. You'll have an inauthentic performance. It may be a dazzling performance, but it's not real. And if you aspire for reality, if you aspire for truth and authenticity in the work you're doing, then you have to remove the actor's plan, which means you, the director, also have to remove the director's plan. This is how I want you to play it. This is how I see it. And on this line, I see, this is where I see the anger rising when he talks. And when you see the beer, that's when I want to see the most anger. I want to see all that, anger that's been building up inside Carolyn for years come out about. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Who are you to think you can control life? Here's something interesting. Everything you saw in this clip between Lester and Carolyn, everything that was expressed by them is their truth. Even if they're lying, it's their truth. And if you want to get the truth of a character, which brings you to authenticity, if you want to get their truth, don't tell them what the truth is. Don't say, oh, let's play it this way. Why don't you play it that way? Now you're trying to control the truth. Now it's what? Your truth? Or the actor tries to control it? It's her truth or his truth? Whose truth is it? Why not get the character's truth? Leave it alone. The goal here is bring the character to life, bring the character alive, bring the relationship alive, and then do what I just did in that rehearsal when I said read the scene, send them into the scene with no direction. Send them into the scene naive. The two characters are naive. They're naive because they have no idea what the hell is going to happen. Now, of course, they know what the lines are. That's part of the restriction. That's part of what they're running into. That's part of the confinement. That's fine. They know what the lines are. Do they have any idea how they're going to say the line? No, not at all. In fact, you don't want them to. You don't want them to. So the way you saw that reading happen, and when you watch the whole film, you'll see the whole scene several times in the film. You'll see every time they do it, it comes out differently. And every time it's authentic. Every single time. That's what you're going for. That's what you want to capture on camera. And that's what we'll discuss more in October. For those of you who want to join us in October, I'm going to want to show you one more thing. There it is. Okay. I was talking about Elsha and her uncanny ability to come up with amazing titles. So this program that we're doing in October, this is for 3 days. We'll be working on this movie and on Interrogation for 3 days, 3 Saturdays. And Elsha came up with the title, Socrates on Steroids. And that's sort of what it is. You got a little taste of it today. We're getting close to the steroids, where we're going to deconstruct, disassemble, take apart the entire interrogation process and the entire film. We'll even go, the clip you saw, we'll go into that again, even deeper into that, looking at all the tools and techniques and steps that are used there. So this is on our website. Now we will be sending you a clip of it or a link to it in an email that comes up. You can see it's in October 15, 22, and 29. Those are 3 Saturdays. We'll be doing 2 hours every day, going into the interrogation process. And also added to this, and this is also one of Elsha's brilliance, is there is homework. There's homework. And during the homework, you will get all the steps. You will get all the tools. Some of the things I'm talking about, you'll get documents and a workbook that lays out how this is done. So as you're watching, as you're working and watching, you'll understand it more. And you will get a lifetime access to this film and to the replays that we do in October. So we'll be telling you more about that. So it's called Socrates on Steroids, or Deconstructing the Interrogation Process. That's what we'll be doing back and then. So I invite you all to join us. One of my goals in life is to not only share my tools and techniques and whatever I've discovered, whatever I've learned with all of you, and I think it's great that you're all here, and thank you, Bea, for being here. But one of my other goals that I've had for years and years is to create a larger or a more integrated community of writers, directors, and actors. Now, you are all part of that community because you're here, and there are a couple of hundred other people who aren't here who will be watching the replays and stuff like that, but you're all here to create that community. And so I invite you as part of that community to join us in October, where we'll all be working together. You'll get to know each other a little bit better because there's no way of knowing each other, getting that sort of connection here in this short period of time. So I invite you to join us where we'll go deeper into the process, and it will be a deep dive into all aspects of the process, including things like using interrogation in the casting process, which is really fascinating. It's a fascinating way to cast. And I'm going to give you one little clue on that. That in the casting, I use the interrogation in the casting process without warning. The actor is not warned at all that this is going to happen. And what I'm looking for, if I'm casting, say, Lester, and I'm seeing a lot of actors for Lester, I'm not looking for the best actor. Not. I'm looking for the Lester that I want. And through the interrogation process, when it's used in the casting process, you can, in a minute or two, very quickly, when you have the actor read, and then you interrogate that actor as that character, you will see in less than a minute the Lester that lives inside him. You will see it. You will see exactly the Lester you will get if you cast that person. So you're not casting the best actor, you're casting the Lester you want, or the Carolyn you want, or the relationship between the two, the couple that you want. We'll be going over that in October. Okay, I think we're nearing the end of our time. And Elsa's over here, by the way. You can probably tell. She's right over there.
I'm directing you.
You know, I've been... She just said something. I'm directing you. It's true. I mean, people. I have been referred to as because I consult obviously with a lot of. I've been referred to as the director's director. This is very nice. Elsa is convinced that she's the director's director, the director of the, and she does, and she slips me little notes and things like that. Wait till you meet Elsa. You think this stuff is great? Wow! Have you got a treat? We even have one director who may be online with us today in London, who's coming here in November. Actually, but that's a whole consultation on a film. He's coming here to do a lot of this process here live. Anyway, so I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for being here and listening. You will be getting links to the replay soon as we prepare it and get it ready. I also want to thank all of you because a lot of you have written to me, and I want to thank you for all your comments, thoughts, questions, all that, and especially thank you for your interest in my work and for the praise of the work or stories about how it's helping you and in the directing you're doing. My goal for all the directors is I want to raise the level of the work. To raise the level of the work, we have to raise the actors, and we can do that. We can do that together. Now Elsa is touching my elbow, which means something.
Goodbye.
Oh, she's suggesting that I'm done. I guess I'm done. Elsa says I'm. Thank you. Stay in touch. You know how to put stuff in the chat. Save the chat now. If you haven't saved it, save the chat now. And I will be in touch. If you have questions, just write to me. You know how to do that. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.